Ekse TV family. Catch us live on your TV screens.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. Remember, we are still keeping the conversation and talking all things about health. Hop on our socials and let us know how you're feeling about the topic of today. As you know, it is Women's Month, so we are talking all things that have to do with women. And on a Tuesday, there's so many health things that come with women. I mean, the other week we talked about menstruation, and we keep talking about the reproductive system. And joining us in the studio is someone who knows so much about that. Let me tell you, when I asked her, so Miguel, what is it that you actually do? She was like, oh girl, there's a lot, but let's just sum it up in one word and let's say I am a health communicator. So ladies and gents, welcome the health communicator Kanyisa in the build. Dizzy, welcome girl. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's such a pleasure.
Yes, now what I want to focus on, as you know, this month is all about Women's Month, and what we want to talk about today is contraceptives, because there have been so many different conversations about contraceptives. Are they good? Are they bad? Is it okay for me to go on contraceptives because there's so many side effects? Like, what is your take on that?
I think contraceptives are important for someone who wants to have control over when they should get pregnant, or if they want to get pregnant. I think that's my take on it. And furthermore is making sure that when you do choose to take a contraceptive, you do as much research as possible, because there's a litany of contraceptives that you can choose from. So the important thing is for you to make the decision. Once the decision is made, do a bit of research so that by the time you go and get contraceptives, you have some understanding of how they work.
Okay, so I love that you said that you must also do your own research, because I know as a young child, we don't really actually talk about sex in our homes. We don't talk about contraceptives with our parents, etc. So when do you think is the right time to actually start having these conversations about contraceptives, sex, dating as young women and young girls?
I think talking about contraceptives is in the same vein as a continuous conversation around sex, state of readiness for sexual intercourse, and then an eventuality of contraceptives. I think that it cannot be an isolated conversation. It's a continuous one. And you find that a lot of the times young people do ask questions around sex. And eventually when you get to a conversation around pregnancy and how it happens, you can also talk about, well, if you are ready for sexual intercourse, then other things to consider is contraceptives, because depending on how old you are and how ready you are also to conceive, then contraceptives become a reality when you're sexually active.
Is it wise though for young people to get children? Just asking. Like for example, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old. Like when does one know that this is the right time for me to start being sexually active, therefore having to take contraceptives, or neither, just having a child?
I mean, I think for me, I think that the state of readiness for sex needs to be also, how much information do you actually have? Like your body is telling you all sorts of things, it's giving you all sorts of cues, but how much information do you really have? Is it sexual pleasure that you want? And what kind of sexual pleasure are you looking for? Even before you get to sexual intercourse, because there's also different ways of having sexual pleasure that don't necessarily involve intercourse, at which point you know that when there's no intercourse, there is no real concerns around pregnancy. Once we start talking about sexual intercourse, then it's a completely different ball game, because then once you say you're ready for sexual pleasure and you're not ready for intercourse, then you know that you're not ready for pregnancy. If you are ready for intercourse, then what are the things you're going to put in place to ensure that you don't find yourself in a position where you're pregnant? And if you are pregnant, then what are you going to do? So those are the things. I think age for me is really not the thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the person who is making those continuous decisions and the kind of information they've got for them to be able to make informed decisions that put them in a beautiful position to still be in control of their lives.
I love that you're not focusing on age, but you're really focusing about whether does the person have enough information to make the right decisions for themselves. And I think that's what's been lacking for so long rather, is we don't have the information. We just make decisions out of our impulses and how we feel in our bodies, not really understanding the consequences that come with our actions. So I love that you said that. But on the other hand, though, as you know, we have a steaming number of teenage pregnancies. And as you know, the economies he's not growing up, so we need to maybe take a look at that and how we can resolve that issue. How old do you need to be to start taking contraceptives, or how mindful is it about the age, or is it more about mindfulness of what you're doing that could cause into pregnancy?
I think, you know, I perhaps it's a conversation for another day. We really need to talk about the realities of being a growing person and sexual impulses, and for people who are not ready to have sexual intercourse, how they can still continue to experience sexual pleasure without guilt, and also get themselves ready to actually have sexual intercourse.
Yeah.
And that's it. For people who do choose to have sexual intercourse, firstly in South Africa, you have to be 16 and older.
Yeah.
Anything younger than that is statutory rape, guys, whether it's between the two of you or someone older, which is not advisable. That's the first thing. So in terms of law, the law believes that when you're 16 and older, you have the state of mind to be able to discern your state of readiness. That's the first one. And secondly, I think that sex is such a beautifully pleasurable thing. It's really just like the most beautiful human thing you can actually get to do. But without the right information, you've got a lot of anxiety, you've got a lot of uncertainty, and you are likely to involve yourself in something that you didn't necessarily
want
choose.
to be in.
And it's a whole other conversation already also around consent, whether or not you consent to specific things. So for me, I think when we talk about readiness for contraceptives, it's then that person says, you know what, I'm 17, you know, I actually would like to have sexual intercourse. And so perhaps now the things to consider is, what kind of contraception is going to work for me and my body? Do I want a long-acting contraceptive? Am I okay with a short-acting contraceptive?
Yeah.
Or can I take pills daily? So that once you've got that information, then you can choose which contraceptive is for you.
Yes, I hear you so much, and I feel like our viewers are hearing you as well, but they're like, Lwandile, we need more time. Unfortunately, we do not have more time. Kanyisa, if you're on socials or anywhere, where can we find you to ask you these personal questions ourselves? Please just give me your handles, give me your website, or anything where I can find you.
Okay, so if you're on Instagram, please look for Eve's Apple the Mag. It is Eve's Apple the Mag on Twitter as well as Facebook. Jump into the DMs. We're fairly responsive in terms of when people do come in, and you're safe with us. There's no taboos, there's no judgment. Ask your questions and we've got some answers.
I love that. I love that you say there's no judgment, because most of us don't ask questions because we feel like we're going to get judged on the other end, or maybe sex has the stigma that we don't like that it comes with. And I'm glad that there's a safe space for women in the 21st century. Kanyisa, my health communicator, thank you so much for joining us, girl. Right now, though, we're going to take a little bit of an ad and we'll see you after this. Thank you, Kanyisa.
CTV family, catch us live on your TV screens.
Yes, catch us live on the TV screens. But and yesterday we hosted a listening session for Killer G and received a WhatsApp text. The number is 0465000202.
I'm so proud of
and
you.
it comes from Utora Music. It said Killer G Uyingwenya.
Yes, Uyingena, indeed, guys. Thank you so much for choosing us to be a source of entertainment. Unfortunately, from us, we have to say goodbye. But we are not leaving you dry. We're leaving you with a song that is basically saying, if you're feeling down and you're tired of doing whatever it is you're doing, don't worry. Don't only think it's about you, but think it's about your family as well. This is Man B with Cage. Bye.
Praying not to live for another day, but I kept it looking up cause my brother there. My mind resting by my feet, standing on the rain, talking like they can hear what I had to say. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Every time I close my eyes, I can see them all. They just left me with the words full of bunch of hopes. Young brother died screaming, yo, let me go. And they keep me in a minute for me that's taking long. I was hoping grow big, so big as Danny Glow. I'm in a cage, it's for the danger. Once they let me go, nothing can stop me. I'm putting God before me. We're moving on and we both live. I'm telling half of the story. My life is better than the movie. You people come before me. You people come before me. Yeah, 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 yeah. I've been praying not to live for another day, but I kept looking up cause my brother there. My mind resting by my feet, standing on the road. Oh, many cages. I'm in a cage, yeah. I'm in a, ooh, I'm in a cage, yeah. I'm in a, I'm in a, I'm in a cage, yeah.